Welcome back, Two Hats family, to the Two Hot Two Hats podcast. I always do that. I swear every
First,
week. Every week. It's hard saying Two Hats podcast. Two Hats podcast.
it's hard for
Welcome back,
you.
y'all. Now we're gonna keep that in there because we're doing it live and raw. So welcome back, y'all. This is episode 22. I'm Chris, the tactical probation officer, and this is my lovely co-host.
It's Brittany, your favorite PO.
We'll see if she's really your favorite, guys.
Oh,
We'll
y'all
see.
already know. It's no disputing that. It's no disputing.
Hey guys, we have our newest family member here on, Josh. And Josh, go ahead and say hi to the people.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing?
All right, all right. I know it's just kind of give a background, y'all. This podcast is to support probation, parole, community corrections, community supervision, pretrial services, juvenile probation, and all that. We are here to bridge that gap, to put awareness out there of this career, this field, to let everyone know that there are 50 states, and then within those states there are hundreds and thousands of counties, and they all do things differently. So if this is a career field that you're interested in, definitely listen to our previous episodes. See how different places do things, and see if that fits you. Even though Brittany and I, we're both POs, both our jobs in terms of where we were different, similar but different. So we got Josh on today. He's going to talk to us about his position, where he is, and how they do things. And we'll go ahead and get started. Josh, where are you located at?
Located in the Southwest, down in Arizona, and I work in
Arizona.
a
I think
fairly small region.
we interviewed somebody from Arizona before, didn't we?
I feel like we did.
I think we did. I got looked at the episodes. You get older, that memory starts going.
Yes, indeed.
uh, um, but definitely. So let's kick it off with our standard questions. Uh, on a two hat scale between 1 and 10, with 1 being a social worker and 10 being a law enforcement officer, police officer, deputy sheriff, where would you say your department is on the two hat scale?
Um, I'd say I'll give you two separate answers. We sit right in the center, but it depends on not only the individual, but the caseload you're on. So
When you say the individual, you mean the offender or the PO?
the offender and some of our officers will lean a little bit more toward following that law enforcement side, but again, that's the caseload that they sit on. But each case, each person's some clients need more of that social worker aspect, where some clients need that more law enforcement style aspect. So it's not just a black and white, hey, you've got to be more of a law enforcement officer all the time, or hey, you've got to be more of a social worker all the time. You have to be able to take that hat, throw it, and quickly throw on the other hat, depending on what's going on. So it's not always, you got to walk that fine line depending on what's happening.
That's
So,
good. The fact that your department kind of gives you the flexibility to do that. Some don't. So my question then, follow up, is where is Josh on the two hat scale? If the department's in the middle, where are you at?
I'm right down the middle because of the caseload that I hold, because I'm drug court.
Okay,
So
my man, my man.
So both of y'all are drug court
yeah,
officers.
yeah.
So talk to the people more about that ability to change hats and dealing with different offenders and their needs and how you address them. Talk to the people more about that.
Well, I mean, as you know, with drug court, I'm fairly new to drug court still. I started juvenile went to intensive, and then got pulled into drug court. So intensive, it's really easy to switch those hats. It's just, hey, I've been trying to work with you. You're not in compliance. You're not following what you're supposed to be following. Hey, it's time to follow that law enforcement aspect. Pull one hat off, throw the other hat on. Let's go. Drug court, it's a little bit more touchy because you have a whole team. So it's not the, all right, hey, we've, as a, hypothetical, you've got a guy who's continuously following the same path he's been. He's hanging around with the same people. He's not following directives that have been given to him. He's still using, he's still reoffending. I can't just, hey, you're getting a PTR. We're going to do a warrantless, arrest. We're going to take you back to the jail and we'll see what the judge says. So you can't just pull one hat off as a social worker trying to work with them, get them through treatments, sit and talk with them, get them into counseling, give them all these different, opportunities and then quickly change. You have to take it to the team and you have to see what the team does. But as soon as, you have a plan of attack, you see what the PO says, you have to see what the county attorney says, what the defense attorneys say, and what the judge says, and you all agree on it and you come to that conclusion of what you're going to do. Then you can kind of, all right, hey, this hat's coming off, this hat's going on, if that's the path they want to take. So there's a little bit more.
You guys make your own arrests in Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we're on the job, we are viewed as law enforcement in the realm of our clients.
Gotcha.
So it's not like we're on duty. Oh, hey, we see somebody committing a crime, we can go and address that. Now, if local sheriff or local PD request our assistance, we can help them if we choose so.
No, that's interesting. Chris, can you do that too?
Yes, we have the authority to assist law enforcement. I think the way it's worded is in cases of emergency in order to effect an arrest or to prevent escape. I think that's the way the wording is in our policy. So, if there's something that's going on and they need us right then and there, we can do it. But it's not like, they're coming to us and say, hey, we're going out to serve a warrant. Do you want to come? It's not like that. Not for us. We can go to them and say, hey, we're serving a warrant. Do you want to come? Then they can make a choice. But yeah, we can't just help them with anything and everything. So, we are considered law enforcement officers in our state. We do have full arrest. We do have arrest powers over those on probation and parole in our state, and we can do some arrest for like certain kind of felonies if they are committed in our presence. Yeah, but most likely it'll just be more of a detaining and contacting local law enforcement. We don't file like new charges on people.
No.
Yeah. So Josh, what made you want to get into this field in the beginning?
I always refer back to I got lost on my way to college.
Elaborate, please.
So just like similar to the gentleman from Alaska you had on, I was a hellraiser growing up. Made a lot of bad decisions. Finally got my head partially removed from my backside when I turned 18, and I went straight into the Army and did my time in the Army. Decided I wanted to make a career out of it, and the Army said, hey, you're too messed up. Bye. Got out, did some contracting, did some private security work, started taking my head and pushing it back in my backside again, and put myself in some bad situations and started going down some bad paths. And a couple people put some time into me. And nobody did that for a long time. Like they actually, hey, you know, you're not alone. They did that whole, you know, social worker aspect. And after that, you know, I kind of remembered that I had goals and I had dreams. And that steered me back onto the path that I remembered I wanted to be as a kid. You know, I wanted to be in law enforcement. I wanted to help people. You know, I wanted to be somebody that the community looked up to, that wasn't just another person. You know, I didn't want that normal 9 to 5 job. I didn't want that, you know, just run of the mill job. And after, you know, some hard work, some long hours, I was able to get myself back into a position where I could start going there. The county I'm with had some open positions and I started applying, and it took me about a year and a half to get into the first juvenile slot I had.
Wow.
So
now that's a story that we have never heard, like the lead up to you being in this profession. That's so interesting. I want to know a little bit about these hardships or these things that you had to go through before turning your life around and deciding to have a career in criminal justice. Like, just give me a little bit. I just need a little bit. You don't have to, you know, put all your business out there. I just need a little bit.
Well, I was an alcoholic. Well, technically, I still am an alcoholic. I was a raging alcoholic after the Army. I didn't stop drinking. If it wasn't beer, I carried around a tumbler with me, and it was vodka Red Bulls, Jack and Cokes, and I let myself get to a point where I didn't want to deal with issues. I didn't want to deal with life. It was just wake up, drink, go to work, come home, drink.
And a lot of people that you supervise can probably relate to that a lot. I mean, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that is so beneficial as far as being in this position that you're in. Wow, that's so dope.
I don't like, you know, with the people I work with, they all know. My bosses all know. But there's been a couple of times where it's actually, I've been able to use it as that ace up my sleeve when I'm dealing with a couple of clients and they're like, you have no idea where I'm coming from. You have no idea what I've been through. You know, you don't know what it's like to have any sort of addiction. And I'm like, hold up, listen here. Let me tell you a story. Sit down. You know, it's been beneficial to make that connection, to push them a little bit harder and to get them brought back down. So it does help. It also, at least me personally, it makes me feel like I have a little bit better of an insight into what some of these people are going through in certain cases. Especially some of my guys that, you know, have dealt or are dealing with alcohol in certain ways. So I don't automatically think like, come on, man, you can just set the bottle down. Because I know how hard it was for me to set the bottle down. So, you know, for me, I feel like it's a, you know, a tool in my bag. So
definitely, wow. How long has it been since your last drink? I just want to know.
Over 3 years now.
Congratulations!
So,
That's
thank you.
And thank you for serving our country too. I didn't even mention that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's definitely big. Especially, you know, the fact that you can use your experiences, you know, with drug court, which I think is big. Like personally, I haven't experienced any of those issues. And I think that's something that the offenders try to use kind of against you. Like you just don't understand, you know, you never went through it. And while I've had family members that have gone through it, you know, I've kind of experienced it kind of just, you know, from, you know, living with them and being around them. I haven't gone through it myself, and they do try to use that against you. But, you know, it's the fact that you can relate, I think, is a big thing. Like the substance abuse counselors that we have on our team in drug court, you know, some of them have, you know, they're in recovery themselves. and just being able to see how I think they interact best with the clients because they're able to call out the BS. They can see when they're playing
Oh yeah.
games, and when they're lying, and they can see it better than some of us who haven't been there. Where I might what like, oh man, yeah, he told me this and this, and well, maybe we need to do this, or maybe give him another chance, and then the counselor will pipe up and says, nah, that's all BS. He's playing us. They can see right through it. And I think that is definitely a really big advantage. But to bring things back, so earlier when you started talking about you getting into drug court, you said something about a PTR. What is that?
Petition to revoke.
Okay. What? Tell me more about that.
So after a certain point of layman's terms,
Because
pretty much
everywhere
you've gotten
uses
so
different
many chances.
terminologies, and different procedures. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
so
see how it relates to what I do.
you've gotten so many chances. You've gotten so many violations. You've done so many things wrong. It's pretty much you're petitioning the courts to revoke the client's probation and send them back to jail, send them either to prison.
Chris, I know you didn't just ask
sentence.
him that. Like, you know what that is. Stop playing.
I might know what it is, but everybody out there might
I
not
know he
know.
knows what it is.
Don't do
Okay.
that.
Because every state does it differently. So, like in my state, there's only 3 ways you can be revoked. Okay. If they abscond, then they're revocable. Okay. If they receive a new conviction while on probation, they're revocable. The third way they're revocable is if they serve 2 periods of confinement as a violation, as a response to their violation. So in for felony cases, we can do what are called confinements response violations, CRVs, where we got the judge can actually send that person to prison for 90 days. And then they get out, continue on probation. If they do 2 of those, and they're still messing up, at that point they are revocable. But to act, but to be revocable for anything else, a whole bunch of positives, or they're just not, following all the rules or things like that, or they're not going to their treatments, or they're not doing things they're ordered to do. None of that makes you revocable. It's only those 3 things: you abscond, you receive a new conviction, or you serve 2 periods of confinements. That's it. You know
So
what I
if you
mean?
have 5 dirty UAs and you don't show up to 2 appointments, let's say that, they won't file a motion
We can
or
we
a
can file a
petition?
violation on you, and we could take you back in front of a judge,
Yeah.
either through an arrest or through giving you a court date.
But just what you're saying
And
is they won't revoke the whole probation.
that's legally they can't revoke you off that.
Okay.
Yeah. So then at that
So
point,
But that's only for felony.
we won't do a
that's felonies.
well,
For
we won't
for
do a
misdemeanor
PTR either.
cases, we can put them in a jail for a couple of days. They can serve some active time towards their suspended sentence in the jail, and if they do 2 of those, then they become revocable if they still keep messing up. So it's not so there's a process to it. It's not like a straight cut forward. You're just totally messing up on probation. We're going to go ahead and revoke you. There's a process to it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
So like when I was on the IPS side of the house, like either way, it's still a long process before we go to a PTR because we do everything we possibly can to help somebody.
Yes.
But with us, we have more criteria that we can go by to give somebody, to revoke somebody and send them back in front of a judge for that whole process. But say somebody's got 30 or 40 different violations for multiple things. We can use that to go into a PTR. It does not just have to be, the 3 things that you said in your guys' case. On the drug court side of things, it's an even longer process because, when it
They
comes
get so many
to drug
chances,
court,
so many chances.
yeah,
And
because,
people hate drug
these
court,
guys,
but you get more chances.
yeah, you get
It's a
more
good and
chances.
bad thing.
Yeah, but these guys, this is generally their last chance, and a lot of them are putting in work. You know, they've got a lot of community service they're doing. You know, they're going in front of the judge, especially on our, you know, our first levels, our first phases. They're going in front of the judge every single week and talking to the judge. So they're being held accountable to an insanely high standard. Um, you know, for a few of them, if I'm not seeing them, my partner's seeing them every single day. So they've got to deal with probation in some way, shape, or form. Way too much in the way that they say it, you know. So I've got a couple of guys like I'll knock on their door or I'll give them a call and they'll stop by the office on their way into work and they're like, man, I just saw you like 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago. Come on, man. You know, but it holds them to accountable. So to a higher level of accountability and it helps them through the process, especially when they're coming off of, you know, 8 years, 9 years of being tied up in these really bad habits. So giving them more leeway, not really leeway, but like more chances does help. Um,
Now, is
and
probation
holding
and
off on
parole
that
separate?
PTR.
Oh, sorry, Josh. Go ahead. I didn't
Yeah.
want to cut you off.
Yeah. Probation and parole is separate with us. Um, we're solely probation in the department I'm with. Um, so since I've been with drug court, I haven't seen, well, I take that back. I just found out one guy's getting PTR'd. But that's for a whole different ball game of things. He didn't even make it into anything, but generally it's a very long process. We give them a lot of, you know, a lot of chances. We work with them and we will impose things like do written reports. We'll use some of the suspended jail time that they have. We'll put them back on schedules for a longer period of time. We'll increase the amount of time that they have to see us. Um, extra counseling. So we constantly work with them because generally there's a, you know, from what I've seen since I've been there, there's a pretty high success rate.
What about in your court, Chris? Is it a high
So
success rate for your offenders?
Um, since I've been there, I can't say it's a high rate. Um,
No.
I can't say it's a high rate at all. Um, just from my experience being in drug court. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about drug treatment court is that it is designed for high risk and high needs individuals. So when we're talking about high risk people, we're talking about people that, you know, instead of, you know, when they of going right to prison, this is kind of their last chance. These are people that have extensive criminal histories, extensive drug history. Um, you know, most of my drug court clients are high risk offenders. They're what we call level ones, which is the highest supervision level we have. Um, that's what most of them are. So when we say high risk, that's what we mean, that they're very high likelihood to reoffend. And then when we say they're high needs, a lot of the risk factors and criminogenic needs are very high. You know, they don't have stable housing. Clearly, there's some abuses that issued. Um, their family needs are high. Employment needs are high. So when you're dealing with that type of clientele, so you're talking about people that would be on a intensive supervision, but higher. You know what I mean? Um, so you're talking about people who are the I don't want to say the worst, but they're up there. Plus, plus they have this really bad addiction on top of that. Okay, so when you're dealing with that kind of clientele, there's just a lot of roadblocks. And a lot of to them, you know, they take drug court, and everything's explained to them in terms of, you know, the classes they have to go to, how often they got to come to court, the fact that, you know, probation is going to be checking on them a lot, all the restrictions they have, and they don't really realize that they're actually in the program, and they realize how much of a day-to-day thing drug court is in their life. You know, every day they have to, you know, if they have classes 3 times a week, intensive outpatient 3 times a week, they have to call in every single day to find out if they have a drug screen. And if it's their turn for a drug screen, they gotta, no matter what's going on in their day, they gotta come down and make that drug screen for the day. In addition, they have appointments with me. They have appointments with their individual appointments with their counselors. They have appointments with the drug court coordinator. Um, they have random drug screens with me on top of the drug screens they do for drug court. So it is a lot.
So are they
And
not succeeding because it's just too much, or what's the number one reason why they get revoked? It's because of the drug use, or is it like always multiple things? But I want to know, like,
it's
generally speaking, overall, what's like the number one thing that stands out?
it's usually the drug usage and in either the inability or the unwillingness to stop the drug usage, which then leads them to disappearing. You guys have heard me say it before with drug court. Well, I don't know about other people's drug court, but with my drug court, they're either in compliance or they abscond. There is nothing in between. They're either doing what they have to do, working on their sobriety. Yeah, they might have a slip up here and there. We'll sanction it. We'll get them back on track. That's our number one thing is, what do we need to do to get this person back on track? We'll get them back on track. We'll work with them. And then you have the people that they decide that it's too much. They don't want to stop using. Sobriety is too hard, and they just abscond.
What about on your end, Josh? What's the number one reason?
Sobriety. But one thing where we differ, well, two things that hearing you talk that we differ is they don't call in to see if they have to test. Either one, we show up and we're like, hey, surprise, I need a test. Or they get a call from us and saying, hey, I need you here within the next 45 minutes to test. So it's completely surprised.
I like that.
And yeah, we put in work, my partner and I, we're constantly out. You have maybe one day where we'll be in the office, and then the rest of the time that we're in the office, it's only to catch up on paperwork. We're in the streets every other time.
So it's only you two on drug court?
And no, we're the two surveillance officers that are on. There's also two other POs that are on, and then we have our coordinator plus all the attorneys and the judges. So we're the
How many
ones that
people do you supervise? Like, how many people is on your caseload?
that are in the streets right now. I think 29 or 30.
So you have like 30 and your partner has a separate 30, or is it the same 30? Oh, okay.
The same 30. Yeah. So, yeah, I think somewhere in there. I'd have to check it. It'll fluctuate depending on if somebody ends up going into treatment or not. I've been gone all last week, so I got to play catch up this weekend. I was in
That'll be
training,
fun.
so yeah.
Playing catch up is hard.
My catch up's going to start this evening because I'm going to work all through the night and the rest of the weekend. But another thing is what you said is, they're either in compliance or they abscond. I haven't seen that here since I've been on drug court, and even at my time with this agency, I haven't heard about anybody in our drug court program taking off at all.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. That might also be in part, like when we were talking, messaging before this, that might be in part with how much supervision we have and how our SOs and our POs are in the streets constantly and are moving around and are keeping in contact with these people. So it may not get to that point. It could also be too with our department's very tight knit. We don't have an insane amount of people, but we all work together as a tight group of family. So there's not the, hey, I need help, and you're trying to run and find somebody to help you. It's, one of the other POs, SOs, hey, I'm going to go out. I got to make contacts. And generally 4 or 5 people are, yeah, I'm doing the same thing tonight. Let's all go together, and you just make a big hit, or you take a couple different vehicles, figure out who's going where, and you go. So there's usually a lot of people out and about in these smaller areas, and everybody knows what's going on because it is a smaller department and everybody talks. So that could also be be another reason why they don't get to that point of compliance or absconding.
Now you mentioned that
Somebody always sees them.
you mentioned that there were 2 probation officers also in drug court.
Yeah.
So what do they do that's different from what you do?
They do a lot of the paperwork. They do
Oh,
most
okay.
of the paperwork. And so our county's, it's not massive, but it's very spread out and very rural. So they're the main overseers of everything. They also have other caseloads they cover. And with me and my partner covering such a broad area, there's days that I'll drive 300 miles plus. So that takes, yeah.
That's a lot. I hate
So,
driving. I could never do that. Do you have a department
yeah, I
vehicle
get
or
a lot
you have
of,
your own vehicle?
I have a department vehicle, so that unfortunately there's going to be days where I'll be way north and something's got to get done down south. So that leaves another person down south in drug court that can handle it. So at all times there's 4 people, who are around that can handle things and that can work on things. Unfortunately I can't make certain decisions. So that leaves another person because I'm technically assigned to the south, even though I work north too. So that's 2 of us assigned to south, 2 of us assigned to north. So it
So if
always
the
leaves
PO is
one
doing a
person
lot of the
dedicated to north
paperwork,
and south.
there's an overlap. If the PO is doing a lot of the paperwork, but you mentioned that you have some catching up to do. So what does that entail? So this weekend, your catch up, what does that look like?
I got to see where everybody sits on their mandatory UAs. So like our level 1s, with us, it's 3 to 4. Yeah, 3 to 4 UAs a week that they're required. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of drug
Yeah.
screens.
Who pays for
Yeah.
that?
So, county. I
That's where the
guess.
tax dollars are going to all those drug screens.
We have a good success rate. That's what's required. So, generally, yeah, we usually hit about 3 is what we go to. If somebody's been doing, kind of going on that downhill slope a little bit, we'll give them the extra. So I got to catch up and see where everybody sits,
Do
so I
you have
can
a
hit
third
them
party
between.
that actually administers the drug test, or you do that? You watch them pee. That's a lot of
Yeah,
that's that's a lot.
yeah.
So
So
you're
that's the thing.
on
Yeah,
average, how many UAs do you do a day?
well, that's what I got to play the catch up on. So that'll kind of determine. So there's some days where I'll, my check-in day I can hit 15 UAs,
Oh, I just hit my head.
16
That's a lot.
UAs. Yeah, you know,
That was
and
one thing I
that's
hated
only
about doing
that.
probation. Like I hated watching people pee. Like I was so tired of it.
That well, there's a caveat to that. That's only if I'm doing my caseload US. Like I said, we work together. We're one big family. You know, if another officer in that office has their check-in going on at the same day, there could be 40 people rolling through that office that day throughout the entire day, and they're going to need UAs on them. So there's going to be a lot of people dropping samples that day.
What's the major drug out there where you are in Arizona? Because out here, like the major thing was methamphetamine. Like, oh my gosh, it was just rampant with positive UAs for meth.
We got meth, fentanyl, and heroin, a little bit of heroin, but it's mainly meth and fentanyl.
That myth
You
really.
know, with marijuana is not really a big issue because it's legal, and most people that I've seen now have their card, other than drug court, because we don't allow anything on drug court. So
So do you guys? Oh, so you allow the offenders to smoke weed?
no, nothing on drug court.
I mean,
So that's
like
the
on a
only
regular
thing.
caseload, like a regular.
Because it's
Really?
legal. Yeah.
They could drink
And
alcohol too?
especially, you know, no.
Well, that's legal. So
Well,
they
that's put
can't
in their
drink
terms and
alcohol, but
conditions.
they can smoke some marijuana. What?
Most people have their medical marijuana card.
Uh-huh.
So that's a doctor saying, hey, there is a medical reason why this person has to smoke. You know, then
Okay, so it's
now you're
only if
saying,
they have the medical card.
and most people turn around the second they get on probation and go see a doctor and get a medical card.
Oh, it's that easy.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
You know, there's about 1,000 different, or probably more than 1,000 different, you know, reasons why you can get a medical card. So it's one of those things that being legal, you know, you have your medical card. All right. You know, there's really not much you can do about it at that point once you have your medical card. So, hey, you know, there's, all right. It's not put in your terms and conditions. You know, hey, you have your medical card. At least it's, you know, we can't say, you know, like, you know, somebody has severe depression. I can't tell you, you can't take your depression medication because it makes you pop out on a drug test. Or I can't tell you, you can't take your cancer medication because it makes you pop out on a drug test. You've got a prescription for it. You have a prescription for the marijuana. I can't tell you no, even if I suspect you're only doing it because you just want to sit around and get high. So, you know, it's
What
an
if the actual person
unfortunate
is
part.
on for possession of marijuana? If they're on probation for possession of marijuana, and then they, go get their little card, they can still smoke too.
They got that card. It's medical.
Wow.
Wow. I want to know, Josh, I want to know, how is the hiring process in your area? Because if you don't know, I do consulting, and a lot of people come to me and they ask me, well, how to get hired? I'm having a hard time. Nobody's getting me an interview. Like, how was that process for you?
It was painful. It was very painful. So I applied for a year and a half before I got a call back. So you know, unfortunately, most of these, I don't know how it is in many other states, but with us, we're part of the county. So you have to apply to the county. So you have to get through them first.
And where
And
do you go to apply? Just your county
with
website?
us, it's online. Yeah, with us, it's online. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know any rhyme or reason on how to enhance yourself and make you look better with the county, other than, you know, the main things that anybody would tell you: get somebody to professionally write your resume, um, be smart about how you fill out the application. You know, ours was basic. Um, you know, tell us about yourself. You know, they want to know your criminal history, your background. Do you have any schooling? Do you want to upload a resume? Do you have any professional certifications? And then submit it
So to
and
be a
wait.
PO there, do you have to have a college degree?
Yeah. POs are college degree, bachelor's level. SOs are just either they would like to see associate level, some college, or no degree. Um, Once I got a call back, I went into a board style interview with two of the deputy chiefs. And that was, I thought it was fairly easy, but I've been through board style interviews before. But, you know, they ask you all of the basic questions. You know, they want to know about yourself. I also did a lot of preparing for the interview
How did you prepare?
because I really, um, with me being a veteran, I had access to different veterans services through, what is it? U.S. Vets, Hire Heroes. I forget the other one, but they set me up with mock interviews.
Oh, that's what I
And
do. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And a couple of them had retired probation officers on them. So
Dope,
they
dope.
knew most of the questions they were
Yeah.
going to ask. Um, they asked basic questions. Tell us about yourself. You know, they ran through the job descriptions, and then let's play the waiting game again. Once I got the job offer, you had to go through the county side of things and go through all their background checks, their driver's license checks, and then you had to go through the probation side of the house things, which
Which
was
includes
psych interview, background check, psych interview, um, filling out all their paperwork, and then you got to work. And there was a lot of on the job training. Excuse me. We have DT class, which ours runs about a week long.
Defensive tactics.
And yeah, defensive tactics. And then there's only two jobs where you're not given an option to carry for firearms. And that is if you work our school program, because we do have a school program for juveniles, which is awesome. And of course, juvenile detention.
So they don't have the option at all.
Everybody, no, because
Okay.
you're in a detention facility, and
Well,
then with
that
it
one makes
being a school
sense.
program, yeah.
But
And
they
then
can't
with it
carry
being
in
a
the
school
schools.
program, well, they only have one school. So with our school program, we have a actual school that it's a county school, but 90% of the kids that go there are on probation. And the administrators of that school don't really like the idea of the people, the SOs that are in there carrying, because they sit in there all day. Don't ask me. Don't know the rhyme or reason for it. But they also take care of the kids after school and during the summers. So that's an awesome program. Everybody else has the option to carry. So you go through a week long firearms course with that. And then you have multiple refreshers through the year that you have to go through. You have the probation officer academy you have to go through. And then we do epics here. I don't know if you guys do that.
Yeah, Texas
So
We
we do
don't.
we
as
have
well.
that class.
What is how long is the academy?
The probation off, I think it's a week. I think it's a week long academy they
Oh, it's
do.
short.
And it's it's condensed down. But we have a lot of on the job training.
Do you have it like
So
quarterly or what?
well, when you first start, you spend an obscene amount of time doing training with other officers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So that's our big thing is on the job. Instant throw you straight into it and put you
That's the
with a
best way
senior
to learn it
officer.
anyways.
Yeah. So, and then we do quarterly training for, of course, refreshers on DT and firearms. And then on top of it, there's other trainings in between. So we have a lot of training constantly through the year. So you don't just have that, oh, I'm just going to work and work and work and slack off, no training. No matter which way you turn, there's always some sort of refresher training coming up.
That is so
So
important in this field. And what kind of firearm do they issue you guys?
we have Glock 22s.
Okay, 40 cal.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that what you guys are planning on sticking with? Are they talking about changing at all? Because I know that a lot of departments
We're
are
gonna
switching from 40 to 9 millimeters, is what my department did.
we're gonna stay with those for a while, most likely. So everyone
Okay.
seems happy with them. So
Yeah, that's what I carried when I was
yeah.
a juvenile officer. Was the Glock 23, which was funny because The juvenile officers carried 23s, and our adult department carried the 19s, which is 9 millimeter. It was always funny. So juveniles carrying 40s, but adults carrying 9s. That's kind of a little weird.
We have some 23s, and generally it's just preference. Yeah, you can ask for a 23 if you want it, and if they have it sitting in the armory, no issue at 23. But most people have 22s.
The big boy, the full size.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about, so just get it straight. So you're a surveillance officer. So
Yeah.
are there any, like, one thing I am jealous that there's you have a partner, because I don't have a partner. It's just me. I run drug court. It's just me.
And how many offenders do you have, Chris, on your roster right now? How many do you have on your?
I have about 30. And on the streets, I have about 30.
And it's just him.
And it's just me.
Sorry.
And they're the drug court clients. They're very needy. There's a lot of checking up on them. There's a lot of it. And some of it is just almost like kind of like welfare checks, just to make sure they're still alive. Honestly, because I don't know about your area, but we have a lot of fentanyl users in our area, and it's really bad.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's just kind of just popping up to check on them. Are you still alive? You still here? Or, I get a call from, the counselor, say, hey, your guy missed, 2 or 3 classes. So now I'm like, well, now I'm in a car trying to figure out why they're missing their classes, make sure they're not, they're still around,
Oh, Chris, right. Are you doing UAs on these people, or is someone else supervising that UA?
So in the way it's run in my department is the actual drug court program, which is run by the county.
Uh-huh.
They do saliva swabs that are sent to the lab. So all drug screens are sent to the lab, and they do a minimum of 2 a week. They can do more, but we generally just do 2. Then on the probation side, I do UAs based on my department's policy. And also if there's any questions or something seems a little suspicious, or if the team asks me to, I can do random pop-up drug screens on them. But I'm not the one out there generally doing the screens.
That's why Jackson's doing drug screens like all day.
Well, yes.
I think that is so weird how you guys have those differences.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's every program is different,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as a surveillance officer, primarily you're just more like field work oriented?
Yeah, generally. I spend most of my time in the field, but if one of the officers takes off, what was it, 3 weeks ago, one of our officers took off for 2 weeks, took vacation, and they went, hey, Josh, congratulations, there's your phone. You're now the PO. Have a good couple of weeks. So we covered down. But yeah, most of what I do is field home contacts. I spend a lot of time on my phone because I text these guys and girls constantly. Like, since we've been in the last 48 minutes, I've got, give me 1 second, I've gotten like 7 text messages from my clients.
What's your work schedule?
I make my own schedule. So generally I'll do, I'll try to keep it around 4 days a week in some way, just because I'll end up working so much, but I can go 4 days a week. I can go 5 days a week. I'll work 1 weekend to 2 weekends a month. And when I do that, I'll flex out days the next week.
So when you're off, you completely check out. You're not on checking any messages. You're not getting any phone calls or anything.
I try to. But like you said, these with drug court, there's a lot of times that they're very needy. And so I will, at least middle of the day, check my phone and make sure that something crazy hasn't happened. Because there's a lot of times, somebody will only text me. They won't text the other people that are on the team and with an emergency or with an actual issue. And in that case, you know, hey, I'll respond to it, or I'll at least pass it to my partner or one of the other officers and be like, hey, you know, Mikey boy said that he's got a family emergency and he needs to get a travel permit or this. And then, okay, yeah, I'll deal with it. You know,
Oh,
something like that.
so
But
are you getting
I
overtime?
generally try to check out. We flex.
You do what?
So, yeah. So we flex out.
I don't like
We
that.
can
I
get
don't like
overtime. It's not bad with my family.
it.
I've got I got a plethora of kids,
How many kids you have?
and I got 6 kids.
Okay, that is a lot.
Got a squad.
Yeah. So yeah, and they're my oldest is 9, my youngest is not even 2. So and
Oh,
then my wife does photography. So her schedule constantly changes when she books somebody. So that makes it really easy and this schedule best for me, you know, with kids got having plays or if one of them gets sick, you know, being able to flex things out. I'm like, all right, boss, hey, I've got like 5 hours sitting. Can I take off? You know, so that way we don't have to get a babysitter when my wife goes and does a shoot, you know,
I
things
love
like
that
that. Or
flexibility. What is the
yeah,
pay? What's
that's
the
that's
pay
probably
like
the
though?
best. Um, Starting out for surveillance officers, we're about, I mean, I don't know what it is across there, but we're about average. Um, our probation officers are getting what the county guys, the county sheriffs make.
What is
So
that?
about
What's the
mid
number?
40s, mid
Oh, okay.
40s. So not horrible, not the best, but for this region, um, it's pretty good.
That's better than
You
what they make
know,
over here in Texas.
you know, and that's in part because of our chief. We have an amazing chief up here. He has done a lot of work for this department. Um, that you know that goes back to what I say. We've been like a family. There's not a time if you don't need help, somebody is immediately there to help you. Um, you know, that's from what I've heard, talking with a lot of people out of state and a lot of people around. You see that, but you don't see it as tightly as we have it here, which is a good thing. Um, but you see it a lot in the whole state. A lot of the guys have been around in this state for so long that they don't just know each other, you know, as like on a first name basis. They know each other's families.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Is it does that contribute to how difficult it is to get on? Because like these families, if you know somebody, they
Uh,
might help you get on.
no, it's just, you know, I contribute how hard it was to get on because it's the county hiring process.
Okay.
And getting on with counties can be a pain. Um,
Yep. A lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape
yeah,
unnecessarily.
the bureaucracy is horrible. If you ask anybody,
Hmm.
um, it, nobody can tell you why. Absolutely nobody can tell you why it takes so long to get on with anybody in the county.
It just does.
Yes, it just
So
does.
anybody listening,
So
you have patience, okay? If you apply in Arizona, just have your patience ready.
yeah, and you might be one of the lucky ones where you put in an application, you get a call back the next day, or it could take a very long time. So it's that government style job. You know,
How are your
there's no rhyme
staffing
or reason
levels?
to it.
How are your
Right
staffing
now,
levels?
we're almost full. I think we've got like 3 positions open.
Okay.
When I started, we needed a lot of people. So in the past, what we've gotten almost full in the past 6 months now, we finally got people started coming in. But for a while there, we had some officers carrying 3 caseloads. They were splitting caseloads apart. Guys were jumping back and forth from office to office, doing what they could to help each other. So there was a lot of teamwork going on, which was awesome to see, but it was stressful for some people for a long while. We did have a high turnover rate, but that was partially due to the fact that we are a smaller area where I am, and people will use that to their advantage. They come in, work for 6 months to a year, get that experience,
yeah, go somewhere else,
and then jump. But you see that in a lot of small agencies, but
But if they would get
right
that
now we've got a
experience and
great
then
team.
move to where? Where would they go?
They'd go to a larger agency. We've seen people, we've seen a lot of people stay. We've got a lot of people who have been around for 20 years, 25 years, in fact. But we've seen people jump down to larger counties. We've seen people jump over to police agencies and sheriff agencies, but they just use it as let me get my foot in the door. Let me start getting experience. And then, they may get a better offer, or they may see a place that is just a better fit for them with, hey, I want to live in a bigger city. I want to live here. I want to live there type of thing. So, because like I said, where I'm at is pretty rural. So,
all right, let's change topics a little bit. What's all the safety equipment that's issued to you besides the Glock 23?
so we get vests, radios, OC spray, batons, and cuffs.
Okay.
So,
you guys were external carriers or concealed carriers?
Yes. External carriers, but there is the setup where you can wear them internal. We have a couple people who do that when they go out at nights, but most everybody wears them external.
Okay. And how do you guys work with local law enforcement in your area? What's the relationship like?
I'd say about 95% good. There's two
That's pretty high.
agencies. Yeah, there's 2 agencies where there's some little hiccups, but that's more just random miscommunications. But I'll give you an example. I was having, I'm an hour away from one of the towns where I got a bunch of people, a bunch of my clients in, and I needed to keep a little bit extra eye on one of my guys, and so I shot a text message to one of the daytime officers and was like, "Hey, dude, here's what's going on. If you see him, let me know. Nighttime guy, here's what's going on. If you see him, let me know." My phone didn't stop dinging between multiple different officers. We keep in touch with dispatch constantly. We work really good with both our criminal investigations division. So we have great working relationships. These guys, I wouldn't say at the drop of a dime. I would love to say at the drop of a dime will be there to help us. There's some that will, but that's just because of the personal relationships a lot of the officers have built. Because like I said, we do have some officers that have been with our department for, I want to say one of them was like 25 years now. Our chief's been around for a very, very long time. But most of the time, if you call, they will come. They don't play that game of like, oh, it's just probation. We don't care. No, it's, hey, they need a probation assist. And the first thing dispatch asks, are you guys code 4? Are you guys secure? Are you okay? And if there's any inkling that it's like, yeah, it's an iffy situation, PD or sheriffs are coming. So there's a great working relationship there. Very good.
That's good. That's really good. I think you could do that when the probation's on a county level like that. Where I work, we're we're a state agency, even though we're divided up into every county. We're a state agency, and I think we lose a lot of that connection with other departments. It's kind of like you guys do your thing, we'll do our thing. And if there happens to be some kind of overlap, we'll deal with it. But it's not very often. You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
we still have a good relationship with DPS, which is the Department of, Arizona Department of Public Safety, our state troopers, because we've worked with them on such a many occasions. So there there's just been a lot of work over the years, and I would say we're lucky. We're severely lucky to have that. So I know that I've heard a bunch of cases from different guys, even within the state, that they don't have that. So I'd say we're on the top end of being lucky for that.
that's good. I feel like that's kind of how things were when I was a juvenile officer. Like I had a really good relationship with the people I worked, the law enforcement I worked with, where they would always call me and let me know what's going on. But like I said, where I'm at now, being a large agency, a lot of officers, you just don't have that connection like you would in a smaller, more rural area like that. So that's definitely good. Make sure you guys hold on to that.
Yeah.
Um, is there any word of advice for anybody looking to get into this field, whether probation, surveillance officer?
Or encouragement for officers who are already in it. So, because these officers, y'all need some encouragement because that job is hard.
So to get into it, if this is what you want to do, or if this is what you want to do it. This is a hard job, but it yields great reward. At this training, there was one of the officers, one of the instructors who's been around for, I think, 34 years is what he said he's been doing this for. And he said less than 10 times he has had clients come up to him on the streets years after they've been off probation. And they've told him, hey, I have a wife now. I have kids now. I have a family. I haven't committed crimes in years. And it's because of you. And he said, 35 years, less than 10 times. He said, that is what makes it worth it.
Absolutely.
That's true.
So it got 35 years in, less than 10 times. That's what makes it worth it. For word of encouragement, leave it at the door. Like where I'm at, I remember one of your guys in one of your interviews, he said, in the time he's been on, he hasn't had much, had to go hands on with people. We have a few times. Where we're at, I've been the first one on a call that I've come on and had to deal with a couple of fires. I've done a couple of assists. This job gets stressful really quickly. One of our presiding judge at the county made a statement. He goes, police and sheriffs, they deal with people, felons, criminals, random people for minutes to hours. We deal with convicted felons for years at a time. It starts to wear on you. Do everything you can to leave it at the door and not take it home to your family. That's the biggest thing you can do. I learned that when I was in the Army, and I didn't learn it the right way, which is what led me down a bad path. But always find one thing you can do every day when you get off shift, before you go home, before you leave the office, to take a couple of minutes to clear your head, so that way you don't let it eat you. Because if it starts to eat you, you're not going to be any good to yourself. You're not going to be any good for your family, your kids, or your department. And I haven't met many people that are in this for the wrong reasons, if any. I'm pretty sure everybody I know is in it for the right reasons. And I would say probably anybody that follows you guys is in it for the same reasons, for a good reason, to be there to help people, to do this, to make changes. Don't lose the right reasons. So just find that one thing you can do to take that off and leave it at the door before you go home.
Oh, that's a word. Thank you, Josh.
No,
All right.
thank you guys.
Well, hey, I think that's a great place to leave this off on. Josh, we thank you for being on the interview today.
I thank you.
All right.
I love you
And
guys. I love watching you. I love listening to all your podcasts.
thank you very much. You know,
Thank
we do it for
you.
you guys. All right, everyone, please make sure you're following us at the Two Hats Podcast on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. We're also all these episodes are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, and I think there's another one we're missing. But definitely, we're all available on all the platforms. You can follow me at the tactical underscore probation officer, Brittany.
You can follow me at your favorite PO on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. But y'all DM us if you'd like to be featured for our next episode.
Until next time, you guys have a great day.